one of the things. Good percentage of first serves, I know, with my match today. And yeah, a lot of focus.
48 hours before she was set to step onto the red clay of the Kostja Magica and stare down the world's top-ranked doubles player, Alexandra Eala was doing something entirely different, gliding down a red carpet in Madrid in a gown that had been dreamed up in Manila, stitched together in 2 frantic days and rushed across the globe by her uncle. Same city, same clay, same opponent who, the last time these two crossed paths, dismantled her in the second set in roughly 24 minutes flat. 2 undeniable truths sit right next to each other and they simply refuse to add up. A 20-year-old who flooded her feed with radiant red carpet snapshots, captioning them endlessly thankful to be part of such a special night, and racking up 48,000 likes in under 48 hours, is the very same woman now lacing up her sneakers to face the player who once handed her a humiliating 6-0 bagel on a tennis court. The contrast is almost too sharp to be real, and yet, here she is.
It's getting better every year. I'm a better player this year now.
What unfolded when the red carpet collided with the red clay? That's the real story here. The gown Alexandra Eala wore to the 2026 Laureus World Sports Awards at the Palacio de Cibeles was a Filipiniana, the Philippines' iconic formal national dress. Her uncle, fashion designer Rhett Ayala, conceived and delivered it in roughly 48 hours flat. And she walked into that room, still working on being less shy, by her own admission, a room that happened to contain Novak Djokovic, Aryna Sabalenka, Simone Biles, Eileen Gu, and Nadia Comaneci. "I felt like a princess," she said afterward. Comaneci's lifetime achievement speech moved her deeply. 20 hours later, she was on a clay court at the Caja Magica, dismantling qualifier Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova 6-3, 6-3, then addressing the Madrid crowd in Spanish. The bridge between those two moments is no accident. It's a portrait of exactly the kind of player Alexandra Eala has become, and it leads directly to the match scheduled for April 24th. To grasp what Eala is stepping into, you first need to understand who Elise Mertens actually is right now, because the ranking gap of no 44 versus no 21 doesn't even scratch the surface. Mertens claimed the 2026 Australian Open doubles title in January alongside Zhang Shuai. She's the reigning world no 1-inch doubles. She holds 6 Grand Slam doubles titles and a career-best singles ranking of number 12. She arrived in Madrid as the 19th seed with a first-round bye, a 12-7 singles record in 2026, and a clay court career mark of 69 wins and 41 losses, a 62.7% win rate built on pinpoint placement, relentless returns, and a return game that punishes the slightest hesitation in the service box. She is not a player in decline. She is a player at a very specific, very dangerous kind of peak, and the history between these two is anything but neutral. On October 17, 2023, at the Jasmine Open in Monastir, Mertens beat Eala 7-5, 6-0. Eala won just 9 of 32 second serve points. The second set lasted approximately 24 minutes. Eala was ranked around no 200 at the time, and the scoreline reflected every one of those 200 spots. It's worth briefly acknowledging that Mertens' Stuttgart week wasn't spotless. She built a 6-1, 2-0 lead over 7th seed Karolina Muchova, only to watch Muchova reel off 12 of the next 13 games and steal the match. Mertens has a real vulnerability when momentum shifts against her, but she also proved in that same Stuttgart match that she can suffocate a top 1-0 player in the opening phase. And that is precisely the kind of opening Eala cannot afford to hand her, because the 2023 head-to-head didn't just end 7-5, 6-0. In the first set, Eala actually competed. She saved match points in the 12th game before Mertens finally broke through. Then the second set happened. The question heading into April 24th is whether the player who saved those match points in 2023 has evolved into someone who never surrenders a second set at all. Start with what happened on April 22nd, because it matters far more than the scoreline suggests. Eala beat Pavlyuchenkova 6-3, 6-3, and the number that defines that win is 76% of first serve points won. She saved 5 of 6 break points. She broke serve twice in each set. That 76% figure is the direct, documented answer to the question that Greg Ruseski, Andrea Petkovic, and Martina Navratilova have all separately identified as Eala's primary development challenge: the serve. In their only previous meeting, Eala won just 52% of first serve points against Mertens, who ranks among the most clinical returners currently operating on the WTA Tour. The serve was exposed back then. On April 22nd, it was a weapon. The difference is what that weapon now looks like. That transformation didn't happen in a vacuum. In the weeks before the 2026 season kicked off, Eala hit with Rafael Nadal at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, a session she described in terms that left zero ambiguity about its physical and psychological intensity. "I was really tired after the practice," she said. Rafa's intensity never goes away, and that's one of the things that everyone looks up to him for, his work ethic and intensity. So to be able to feel that firsthand was really great. And when asked specifically about Clay Nadal's surface, the surface Eala is now trying to conquer, she was blunt. "Anything I can take from Rafa, I'll take with pride. She will play on clay in Madrid. She will carry that practice session with her. Now place yourself on April 21st, inside the Palacio de Cibeles in Madrid. The room contains the greatest athletes alive. Eala is 20 years old. She is wearing a dress her uncle conceived and shipped in 48 hours from Manila. She is standing in the same physical space as Djokovic, Sabalenka, Biles, and the woman who invented the perfect 10 inches gymnastics. And she is not out of place. She is photographed, she is quoted, she is invited. The Laureus Committee does not extend invitations to players who don't belong in the room." The Instagram post she published that night, a photograph in the Filipiniana. One quiet caption drew 48,000 likes and 589 comments before 48 hours had passed. GMA News tracked the dress story. ABS-CBN posted the clip of her celebrating with the Madrid crowd after the Pavlyuchenkova win. 6 major Philippine media outlets published dedicated coverage within 24 hours of her first-round result. The Tennis Channel's social team posed a question they rarely need to ask. "Do you remember a women's star who gets this kind of support wherever she goes?" Those who had been watching Alexandra Eala long before the mainstream arrived, who tracked her through the OVA curse, who celebrated when she snapped an 8-match losing streak against opponents with surnames, ending in OVA by beating Pavlyuchenkova on April 22nd, exactly 1 year after her last OVA win over Tamara Zidanšek. Those people understood something the rankings still don't fully reflect. Eala's race-to-tour position in 2026 sits at approximately number 15 globally. Her WTA singles ranking sits at number 44. That gap between where the ranking places her and where her actual 2026 results place her is the real measure of what she's doing this season. And the people who saw it first were right. Consider what Eala has accomplished against the level of competition Mertens currently represents, all since that 6-0 bagel in Monastir. She beat Madison Keys when Keys was ranked number 5. She beat Iga Świątek twice in the same tournament at Miami 2025, when Świątek was ranked number 2. She beat Coco Gauff at number 4 and Jasmine Paolini at number 8. She has 4 career victories over top 1-0 players. The player Mertens demolished in 24 minutes in 2023 has since collected more top 1-0 wins than most players accumulate in an entire career. ESPN put it precisely in March 2026. Opponents have had a full year of film to study her patterns: the wide lefty serve on big points, the backhand down the line in transition, the willingness to absorb pace before flipping defense into offense. They have the film. She keeps winning anyway. There is one voice that carries particular weight in this specific conversation, not a commentator's, not an analyst's, but the voice of a player who faced Eala in this exact city, at this exact tournament, on this exact surface, and needed 3 sets to walk off the court. Świątek, at the time of their Madrid 2025 match, the reigning world No. 2 and defending Madrid champion, a player who has won Roland Garros 4 times, needed 3 sets after Eala took the first 6-4 before Świątek recovered 4-6, 6-4, 6-2. After the match, Świątek said, "I understand that there's hype about these young players, but you have got to be focused on yourself. Parse that carefully." Świątek did not say Eala was lucky. She did not call the first set an anomaly. She chose specifically the word hype, then immediately qualified it by acknowledging she had to stay focused on herself. A player who needed 3 sets against someone they considered purely a product of hype does not typically issue that qualifier. Świątek was, in the precise clinical language of a champion, admitting that Eala's threat was real enough to require active mental management. That admission came on Madrid clay, in the same tournament Eala is playing right now, on the same red clay where she is scheduled to face Elise Mertens, who, unlike Świątek, has never had to manage a 3-set match against this version of Alexandra Eala. Here is what this match means mathematically. At Madrid 2025, Eala reached the second round beating Zidansek, then losing to Świątek 4-6, 6-4, 6-2. That run earned her approximately 35 ranking points. Those 35 points are the ones dropping off her total right now, in real time as this plays out. A second-round exit in 2026 earns 30 points, a net loss of 5 before the French Open clay swing has even reached Rome. A round of 3-2 finish, which requires beating Mertens, earns 50 points, a net gain of 15. Eala currently sits at no 44. She reached her career high of no 29 on March 16, 2026. To be seated at Roland Garros, she needs to climb to approximately no 32. The path from 44 to 32 runs directly through Elise Mertens on April 24th. This is the architecture behind the red carpet and the clay. Eala has already signed up for the Rome Open from May 5th through the 17th, and the Parma Ladies Open on clay in May, a structured, deliberate clay campaign that tells you exactly what the coaching team around Joan Bosch and Clay Season Edition Sandro Vanni is planning. Madrid is not an isolated event. It is the opening chapter of a French Open seeding campaign. Beat Mertens and the chapter opens with momentum. Lose to Mertens and Eala arrives in Rome already behind the mathematical pace she needs. Every Filipino watching from Madrid, from Manila, from every city in the world where the diaspora tracked that red carpet moment and watched the video of her addressing the crowd in Spanish after beating Pavlyuchenkova, they are watching a player fight not just for a win, but for a structural foothold on the surface that will define whether 2026 is the year she becomes a genuine clay court threat. Her commercial value, her cultural footprint, and her Roland Garros seeding all converge on one match. That is what the dress from Manila and the clay of Madrid have in common. They are both, in their own language, statements about belonging. It would be dishonest not to say this plainly. Eala's clay court record in 2026 is 2-2, and one of those losses was severe enough to raise genuine questions. On April 14th, 8 days before her Pavlyuchenkova win, Eala faced Leylah Fernandez in Stuttgart. She fell behind 0 to 5 inches the first set. She won just 42% of total points across the match. The final score was 1-6, 4-6, and it was not as close as that 4-6 second set implies. It was Eala's first match against a fellow left-hander on clay, and the tactical puzzle it posed exposed real, unresolved elements in her clay game. 8 days is not a long runway to rebuild from a match like that. The Pavlyuchenkova win in Madrid's first round was encouraging. The serve percentages were encouraging. The breakpoint conversion was encouraging. But Pavlyuchenkova is not Mertens. Mertens' return game is specifically engineered to exploit exactly the kind of second-serve vulnerability that produced 9 of 32 second-serve points won in their last meeting. Eala has not yet beaten a top 2-5 player on clay in 2026. Mertens at number 21 would be the first. "I've had some struggles on clay before," Eala said after the Pavlyuchenkova win, with a directness her coaching team probably appreciated. "But I've also had some really great matches. There are still a couple of tournaments left, so I'm really excited." That is not a player performing confidence for the cameras. That is a player who trained under the intensity of Rafael Nadal on this very surface and is choosing, deliberately, to walk toward the difficulty rather than around it. "One drop of water can create waves," she has said. "I'm just trying to do my best, fight until the end." The question of whether the valley is behind her or still ahead of her, that is what April 24th is for. Pull back and look at the full picture. A 2-0-year-old who was getting bageled in 24 minutes when she was ranked 200th, who won just 9 of 32 second-serve points in Monastir in 2023, arrived in Madrid in April 2026, having hit practice sessions with Rafael Nadal until she was exhausted, having beaten 4 top 1-0 players across 2 years, having won 76% of first-serve points against Pavlyuchenkova in a clean display of the exact growth that Ruseski, Petkovic, and Navratilova said she needed. And she did all of this while wearing her country's formal dress to the most prestigious sports awards ceremony on the continent in a room with Djokovic, Biles, and Comaneci, then walking out the next morning and winning a professional tennis match. Świątek needed 3 sets on this clay to contain her 1 year ago. The ranking mathematics demand she win this match just to avoid losing ground before Roland Garros. And the opponent across the net is the woman who, in their only prior meeting, made the second set disappear in 24 minutes. That is what shocks the world actually means. It is not about the scoreline of any single match. It is about the convergence of everything.